Shalom, shalom, Hotep, Islam, Alafia. Family, I don't mean to be long, but I must be strong. I don't mean to be long, but I must be strong. Happy Tuesday, happy Tuesday. Listen, I'm going to get right into it. For any parents that's on this live right now, any parents, for some students, like my students, we're on spring break. Right? For a week. So this is Tuesday. For all the parents, have your child or children read for the day? I just want to ask that question. Have your child or children read for the day? Right? Where this is midday around, right? I'm on the East Coast, so this is about late afternoon. Have your child or children read for the day since we've been on spring break? Okay? If the answer is no, then your child should have read for the day already, or your child or children should plan to read for the day. Okay? Listen, reading to the mind is what exercise is to the body. I'm going to say that again. Reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body. There's many people will plan out their day. There's many people that will put it in the calendar to go exercise, to go get their body right. But we will not carve out a time in a day to read and get our mind right. Why is that? Why is that? The mind is a part of the body, isn't it? And if you ask me, the mind is the most important part of the body. The mind also is a muscle. Talk to me now. The mind is also a muscle. So if we're concentrating on the outer, as we normally do, we're concentrating on the outer, how big my muscle is, how flat my tummy is. But we're not concentrating on the inner. We're not concentrating on the internal of our bodies. We're not concentrating on the spirit, the ka, the soul of our bodies. We're not concentrating on the inner, the mind, and the brain of our body. Why is that? Why is that? Family, we will go above and beyond. We will pay money, sometimes more money than a book. We will pay more money to work out, to exercise. But we wouldn't pay more money or even less money for a book to exercise our minds, to exercise our brains. So let me bring it back. If you're a parent on this live, have your child or children read for the day. This is spring break. Well, I know some of us are on spring break. Have your child or children read for the day. It's very, very imperative that we carve out some time for our children to read during especially if they are off of school, especially, we call it spring break, but that doesn't mean that they should be taking a break from reading, We call it spring break, winter break, summer break, but that doesn't mean our children should be taking a break from education. That doesn't mean that our children should be looking at Netflix all day, should be on their tablets, on their phones all day, should be on their laptop. That doesn't mean that. If you ask me, spring break, summer break, winter break, you should be reading even more. You should be doing your mathematics, equations even more. Because now when you go back to school, you're ready. When you go back to school, you're not falling behind, When you go back to school, You're even more prepared than when you left for spring break, for summer break, for winter break. Huh? So this is the mindset that we must be on. Reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body. So the younger the children are, the more you should be instilling in them reading habits. The younger your child is, the more you should be instilling in them mathematical equations. My children, meaning my students, already, even though it's not being taught, they're already learning multiplication. They're already coming up to me, Mr. Cummings, what is 10 times 10? They're already memorizing some of the mathematical multiplication numbers. This is important. Huh? Spring break. Summer break is coming up. That does not mean your child is on a break from education. Every chance you get, you should be instilling mathematical equations. Devon, come in. What is 5 plus 5? Just on a rip, on a random. Shantae, come in. What does comparison mean? Huh? Aisha, come in. What does assimilate mean? Come in. What is 54 divided by 6? Come in. What is, if I give you $10 and you buy something for $6.50, how much change am I getting back? So instantly their mind is working. Instantly they're thinking. Huh? They're not just watching cartoons all day. No. That is not going to make it. And I'm just seeing that we are going on a continuous vicious cycle. Huh? Because our children is growing up now. Social media, phones, technology. They're not putting nothing in their mind. They're not thinking. They're not stimulating their mind. So the same thing. Because I hear it now. Well, I grew up on, watching TV. I grew up on, drinking milk, right? Well, I grew up on NyQuil and Tylenol and all. So just because you grew up on it, that doesn't mean that it's right. Just because you grew up on it, that doesn't mean that it's the right thing. Peace. Thank you for the badge, beloved. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That doesn't mean that. So I was reading, right? Before I get into that, so we must commit, family. We must commit as we commit to exercising, right? I know a lot of people, man, the summer's coming up. Man, I gotta get my body right. Man, the girls, man, the summer's coming up. I gotta tone up my body. I gotta get my stomach flat. But you will never hear, man, the summer coming up. I wanna get my mind right. Man, we on spring break. I gotta get my mind right. Man, school is coming back around. If you're a college student, man, school is coming back around. I gotta get my, I gotta grow my brain so that when I do get into classes, I'm on point. When I do get into these classes, I'm up to par. When I do get into these classes, I'm not falling behind. I gotta make sure and I grow my brain. I gotta make sure and everything is up to par internally. We focus, I cannot emphasize this enough. We focus too much on the outer layer, on the external, and not enough on the internal, on the ka. The Egyptians call it the ka, the soul, the spirituality. Where is that working? Where is that working capability? Where is that capacity where you say, you know what? I'm going to work on my spirituality. You know what? I'm going to work on my brain. I'm going to work on the left side and the right side of the brain so that I can be balanced. Forget the clothes. Clothes are trends. Sneakers, all that is trendy. But education is traditional. Education is traditional. Education is traditional. So the more we understand that, and we pass it on to our children, the more our children will value and understand education. The more our children will value and understand reading. The more our children will value and understand numbers and chemistry and astrology and astronomy and physics and science and numerology. The more our children will value these lost and forgotten subjects, because they have it in here. They have it in here. Forget about all this is just materialistic things. All this is just material. But what about the IP? What about your IPO? What about your IP, your intellectual property? Your intellectual property. We have forgotten about that. We have forgotten about that. We have forgotten about that. So I'm here. This is my mission. This is my mission to help increase reading literacy. Listen, I was reading some statistics earlier and my mood instantaneously dropped by the staggering statistics that I've read concerning reading, concerning education, And you want to tell me times are getting better? You want to tell me times is, Because we have a little bit, even if we have a little bit more money, we are still not supporting each other. Even if we have a little bit more money, we are still getting poorer. So what? Come on. When are we going to get it together? When are we going to get it together? Yesterday on my live, I talked about collaborating. We must collaborate more. Collaboration over competition. Collaboration over competition. Collaboration over competition. Any day. Any day. We got to collaborate with each other. Let me ask you this. What is the difference in not concerning money? What is the difference aside from money? What is the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire? What is the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire? I'm asking you, what is the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire? I'll give it a few more seconds. You can drop it in the chat. You can drop it in the chat, and then I'm going to go into reading tips for children. Yes, mentality is one. Okay, I'm going to give it a few more seconds, and then I'm going to go into reading tips for children. And I don't mean to be long, but I must be strong. So the brother said, I think it was a brother. The brother said, aside from money and aside from the zeros. So one person said mentality. Yes, that's a factor. That's a factor. Another part, which is very key, is the amount of networks that you have, collaboration, the amount of resources that you have, collaboration. The amount of people that you know, collaboration. So that one person that you know can get you into the billionaire status, or into being a billionaire. That just by knowing that one person can get you into being a billionaire. If you don't know that person, you stuck into being a multimillionaire. You stuck into being a multimillionaire because you don't know that person. You don't have that resource to get you into being a billionaire. Right? So yes, the mentality is one, and then resources, the amount of people that you know, or really just your network of people. Your network of people, because your network of people can get you into doors that money can't. Let me say that again. The network of people can get you into doors money can't. After a while, it's not about the money. After a while, it's not about the money. It's about what you know. It's about what you know. And what you know is a prerequisite to who you know. What you know is a prerequisite to who you know. The information. It all goes back to knowledge. We think we can skip our way into being a billionaire or into being a millionaire. We think we can skip our way into making it. No. It all goes back to knowledge. Remember, the root word of knowledge is to know. If you don't know, how can you expect to have certain resources? If you don't know, how can you expect to have certain information? If you don't know, how can you expect to grow? So it all goes back to knowledge. Remember, knowledge is the foundation to everything in existence. Knowledge is the foundation to everything in existence. It all goes back to what you know. And it's bigger than money. As the brother said. It's bigger than money. So let's go into reading tips real quick. And then I will conclude. So reading tips, I started off this live with, although some students, like my students, are on spring break. Just because they are on break, that does not mean that they are on break from education. Just because that they're on break, that does not mean that they're on break from reading and from learning. So when children read, making sure that they underline what they've just read. This will help them to understand and to remember, more importantly, this will help them to understand, more importantly, what they just read by underlining the important sentences and the important phrases or quotes in the story. These are reading tips for children. My next tip for children is, and we've learned this in elementary while we was younger, right? To have the children read the title. Always have the children. I see too many times children just go straight into the story. No. Make sure you have your child read the title. That's very important. Because the title, 9 times out of 10, will give you the clue to what the story is about. Make sure your child read the title. Make sure your child read the introduction. That's key. Again, the introduction will also tell you what the story is about. It's the intro to the essay. We all know how to write an essay, right? I hope. I hope. We have our title. We have our intro. We have the body of the essay. Then we have our conclusion, right? We can say in conclusion, ... overall, ... so that people know that we're concluding. All in all, ... So make sure that your child, this is even good for you. These are reading tips. Make sure that we read the title of the book, that we read the introduction, we read the body, and then we read the conclusion. All right? Those are 4 parts. And those 4 parts will help us to comprehend what we just read. Those 4 parts will help us to comprehend what we just read. Next reading tip. I hope you're taking this down too, family. These are good reading tips, trust me. Next reading tip is while you're reading, ask your child. Who, what, how, where, when. Ask your child those questions. Again, who, what, why, when, how. Ask your child these questions so that it will enhance their comprehension skills. That's very important while they're reading. After they finish reading a paragraph, stop and ask who, what, why, when, how of what they just read. This will increase their comprehension skills. And ultimately, again, our mission is to help increase the reading literacy because it is way too low. And in increasing the reading literacy, we will ultimately have great readers and ultimately have master readers. But you've got to do the work. So making sure that, in reading every day, especially during this week because we're off. Those of you who are off and those of you who have children and your children are off from school, make sure that your children read. Just because we're off from school, that doesn't mean that we're off from education. Just because we're off from school, we have winter break, spring break, summer break. Just because we have a break from school, that doesn't mean that we have a break from learning and that we have a break from learning our numbers and from learning and increasing our reading skills. No. So making sure that you read every day to increase reading fluency, to increase your attention to reading. I know sometimes when we read, too easily we get distracted. And that's because our environment is not conducive to reading. So you want to make sure and you have your home conducive to learning. You want to make sure and have your home applicable to reading and applicable to attentiveness. Because if you don't, we would get distracted too easy. And once we try to read in a non-conducive reading environment, our attentiveness will not stay with us. And thus, we will not complete the chapter, or thus, we will not even complete the paragraph because our mind is wandering off in too many directions. So your attention to reading is key. And your comprehension, which will ultimately equal your quality of reading. It will ultimately equals your quality of reading. Because again, we can read, right? Some of us, we can read. But then when I just ask, okay, what you just read, some of us can't even tell you what they've just read, right? So you want to make sure that your quality of reading is up to par. So your quality of reading is reading fluency, your attention to reading, and then your comprehension of reading equals the quality of reading, So remember, we're doing this so that we can enhance not so good readers into good readers. We're doing it so that we can enhance good readers into great readers. We're doing this so that we can enhance great readers into master readers, into master readers, into master readers. So I hope this live was helpful. I hope this live was helpful, family. If you've learned anything about reading, if you learned any new reading tips, make sure you buy a badge. If you learned anything from this live, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you learned anything as far as reading, as far as growing your brain, as far as reading tips for your children, if you learned anything during this live, make sure you can buy a badge, 99 cents. If you don't have that, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's free 99. Make sure that you subscribe and like our YouTube channel and like and subscribe our podcast outlets, Spotify, Anchor, iHeartRadio, or what have you. Okay, if you learned anything, if this live was useful and valuable, make sure you reciprocate that energy. Make sure you reciprocate that energy. All right. So I'm gonna be leaving now. But before I leave, I want to mention this. Some great books to start off with. I think I have it. And maybe one of them is Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich by Dennis Kimbrough. Think and Grow Rich, right? As you see, I have my notes here. I'll make sure and I practice what I preach, right? Let me show you something real quick. I'll make sure and I practice what I preach. So I'll make sure and I highlight. If you can see the little bookmark here, and you can see the little bracket here in asterisks, I'll make sure and I practice what I preach, right? So I can always go back. I write in my books. I write in my books. So I can always go back and say, okay, this is what this meant. Okay, so yes, I always write in my books. I wrote right here. True. That's true. I can agree with that. And granted, not everything you can or you will agree with, right? But listen, true to me, spit out the bones. Whatever is good for you, make sure you retain it, obtain it, and sustain it. And whatever is not, throw it away. Throw it away. So some books I would recommend is The ISIS Papers. Great classic book. The ISIS Papers by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. You can get that on my website. You can get that on my website. If you don't know, DTR 360 Books, we are an online bookstore. If you don't know, DTR 360 Books, we are an online bookstore. You can get the ISIS Papers. You can get The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. Talks about the mind, again, talks about the mind. Making sure that we develop our brain. Making sure that we grow our minds. Okay? A lot of times and I forgot, I gotta read this statistic to you real quick. But a lot of times where we make bad decisions is because we don't have enough knowledge. A lot of times where we make bad decisions and bad choices is because we don't have a lot of knowledge on that particular subject, on that particular area of choice. So we end up making the wrong decision. So before I go, family, I want to read this. This moved me. This moved me in a good and bad way. So here we go. So it says, so white males, make sure you can buy a badge to support. All right, support, buy a badge, free 99. You can also hit the link in the bio and subscribe to the YouTube channel. So this statistic says that white male students are 3 times more likely to be reading proficiently in the 4th grade. Mind you, we're talking about children. So this live specifically was for children. I done gave you reading tips for children, and I done gave you reading advice for children. So I hope that this live was valuable. But in any case, white children are 3 times more likely to be reading proficiently in the 4th grade than African American black students. 3 times more likely. So whites, Europeans, they have more wealth than us. Europeans, they have more money than us. Europeans, they have more education than us, right? When are we going to say Europeans, they have more resources than us? When are we going to say, like, damn, I'm tired of being at the bottom of the ladder? When is that going to hit you? Really and truly, are you tired of being at the bottom? Every statistic you can think of, except for earning more degrees, right? We all know African black women, they have more degrees than any other race or ethnicity. But when it comes down to it, we are still lacking resources. We are still at the bottom with lacking resources. That's a fact. We're still at the bottom with collective unity and harmony of resources. We are still at the bottom of education collectively. We are still at the bottom of reading proficiently. Let me move on. Speaking of reading proficiently, let me move on. So we know that, and this is a credible site. I got this from gradereadinglevel.net, because black people always quick to say, where you got that from? Where's your resource? Right? So readinglevel.net, you can go to it yourself. So we know that European students are 3 times more likely to be reading proficiently than Hispanic, African, black students, right? And this is according to a data analysis by Annie E. Casey's Foundation's Kids Count Data Center. The statistics are even more startling for African black students from low-income families. With just 10% of black boys and 14% of Hispanic boys reading proficiently, compared to 25% of European students. 25%. Now for black students, that's more than half. Right? So we have 10%. I just want to put it in context for you. We have 10% of low-income families. We're dealing with low-income families. Granted, most of us are from low-income families. So 10% of low-income families are reading below reading level compared to, not reading below, but are reading proficiently. So 10% of those who are low income are reading proficiently compared to 25% of white students reading proficiently. 10%, 25%. Do you see the big gap? Do you see the big gap of reading proficiently? Reading proficiently, meaning reading on a grade level. Our children are not reading on their grade level. Our children are not reading proficiently. We have 10%, 25%, black, white. And you wonder why we are in the condition that we're in. And you wonder why we are steadily killing one another. And you wonder why we go for the materialistic things instead of the educational things. You wonder why 10%, 25%. And you wonder why we are still living at a low income level neighborhood. So, in my comprehension analysis, I equate low income with low level of education. Low income, low level of education. Because granted, and again, with more money comes more resources. I've said that earlier in the live. Who's ever was with me at the beginning of the live, drop a book emoji. If you was with me from the beginning of the live, drop a book emoji, because I said that already, right? With more income, with more money comes more resources, more information, And with more information, you can do more things. So reading and education is important. People want to talk about, financial literacy, and granted, I'm not knocking finance. I'm not knocking, making sure that we are financially literate. But even before being financially literate, we must be educationally literate. We must have a reading literacy capacity, right? So, and even if we want to become more financially literate, we gotta read. So we still gotta read. So reading is in every part of our daily activity. You can't run away from reading. You can't run away from reading. Reading is in our everyday activity. We want to be learning about stocks. We want to be learning about crypto. We gotta read. YouTube is not the only source of research. We have to read. You can't run away from reading. If you want to get into stocks, YouTube is not the only source of reading. There's books on stocks, There's peer-to-peer articles on stocks. We have to get in the habit of reading. We have to get in the habit of reading and comprehensional skills. We have to get in the habit of increasing our reading literacy. Because as I just read to you, 10% of our babies are not reading proficiently. And you mean to tell me you're okay with that? You're okay with that. As opposed to 25% of white students, white fourth graders, are at a reading proficient level. They are doing better than us. They are doing better than us. I can't accept that. I won't accept that. We must do better. We have to do better. And it starts with self. Yes, it starts with self. You have to be that example to your children. You can't preach to them, go in the room and read. Go in the room, make sure, go to school every day. You can't preach to them that and you was a dropout. Go back to school. Get your GED. Go back to school. Get your associate's degree. Go back to school. Get your bachelor's degree. Because you know what? They're going to say, Mommy did it, so I can do it. They're going to say, Daddy did it, so that I can do it. If you're not leading by example, the first thing they're going to say is, well, Mommy didn't do it, so, I don't need to do it, at least not right now. Well, Daddy didn't do it, so I don't need to do it, at least not right now. Right? So, I give you the example of smoking. Many parents say, baby, don't smoke, it's bad for you. Meanwhile, they're smoking. What sense does that make? They're going to say, well, you smoke? I want to know what that feels like. You smoke? I want to know. Everybody else is smoking around me. I want to smoke too. But what if everybody around little Devon was reading and everybody around little Aisha had at least an associate degree? What is that putting in their mind? What is that putting in their mind? Damn, well, at the very least, I need to be educated. At the very least, I need to have an associate's degree. So, you see the difference? Right? Most of us, including myself, I'm no saint. I grew up with my household. 99% of them was smokers, cigarettes, marijuana, right? Except for me. 99% of my household was smokers. But what if I would have been like, well, they doing it, so I can do it. But not everybody, not everybody thinks like that. My mentality was, they did it, so I'm not going to do it. They did it, so I'm not going to do it. That was my mentality. Not every young child's mentality is like that. Most young black mentality is, well, everybody else is smoking weed, so I want to do it too. Everybody else is smoking weed. I don't want to be left out, so I'm going to do it. Everybody else is smoking cigarettes. I'm going to get me a Lucy. And I'm going to smoke too. But what if you had in your household everybody who went to college? What would be that young black mentality? Like, yo, mommy, daddy, cousins, aunts, everybody in my household went to college. I need to go to college too. 9 times out of 10. Granted, they may be like, I want to do something different, whatever. But 9 times out of 10, it's like, yo, my family went to college. At the very least, I want to go to college too. My family all have businesses. 9 times out of 10, I want to have a business too, right? So, basically what I'm getting at, and I'm concluding now. Basically what I'm getting at is that your child only does what he or she sees in their household. Remember that. Your child only does what he or she sees inside their household. So make sure that you as the parent, make sure that you as the legal guardian are leading by example. Make sure that you are leading by example. And you keep on preaching to them that reading is key. Reading is important. Education is important. Remember, because with education comes information. With information comes knowledge. Remember, the root word to knowledge is to know. K-N-O-W is to know. So remember, knowledge is the foundation to everything in existence. So in order for us to grow, enhance ourselves and our families, the foundation is knowledge. We gotta read. You wanna know about financial literacy? You wanna know about cryptocurrency? We gotta read. We gotta read. You wanna know about stocks and bonds? We gotta read. Right? If you're a musician, they give you contracts. If you're an athlete, they give you... We gotta read. Again, you can't run away from reading. Reading is in our everyday activity. You can't run away from reading. So make sure that you read with the intention to comprehend. Make sure that you read with the mentality and intention to comprehend. I'm giving you the jewels. If this live was in any way useful or valuable, buy a badge. If you don't have no money, that's fine. Click the link in the bio and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the link in my bio and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's free 99. If you don't want to buy a badge, that's fine. But support me. Reciprocate the energy in some way, shape, or form. Buy a book. We're an online bookstore. We have books available. We have resources available at your disposal. Get a library card. Make sure that you read. Make sure you be that example for your child. Make sure you be that example for your godchildren. Make sure you be that example for your nieces and nephews, huh? Make sure you be that example for your little cousins. Be that example. It's hard. Everybody is not doing it. But you be that change. You be that change. You be the change that you want to see in this world, subhanAllah. You be that change. Somebody got to do it. Somebody needs to step out and do the work. MashaAllah. Yes, this person said, more books. I don't read enough books, just articles and videos a lot. Got it. Alhamdulillah. I'm glad I was able to help. I'm glad I was able to help. Okay, it says, felt like I was on the bleachers to the crazy stuff my whole life as a child. LOL. Yes, choose wisely. Hashtag. Indeed, indeed. All right? So, all right, family. Thank you, beloved, for the badge. CGJ0198. All right, family. So remember, click the link in the bio. Man, I thank you for your attentiveness throughout this live. I thank you for your patience throughout this live. And again, I hope that I've given you some valuable information. I trust that I've given you some more insight to reading and literacy, because this is my passion. I am a teacher. For those who don't know, I am a teacher in Newark, New Jersey, charter school. I teach first grade, and I see it firsthand along with the statistic. Like, our children cannot read because our children do not read. Our children do not read. So our children cannot read. So we want to make sure and change that. We want to make sure and increase our reading literacy so that we can be head to head with our European counterparts. No wonder they have more money than us. No wonder they have more businesses than us. And yes, they've had a head start. Of course, most of us know that, right? If you don't know that, then again, you should read and find out. They had a head start. But now we have the opportunity and the luxury of some sort to catch up. To catch up, right? To catch up. We have the luxury to catch up. There's no one saying that we can't read. There's no one saying that we can't have a book in our hand. There's no one saying that if I catch you reading, you're gonna die. There's no one saying that. There's no one saying if I catch you writing or even teaching someone how to read and write, you're gonna be lynched. There's no one saying that. So you have the opportunity to learn as much as you can learn. You have that opportunity to put in your mind so much information. There's 360 degrees of knowledge, right? That's a circle, right? Also a triangle is 360 degrees. If you want to talk mathematics, I can talk mathematics. You have to be diverse in your education. You have to be diverse in your subjects, right? So let's just take a circle, right? A circle is 360 degrees. That's the same amount of knowledge. Knowledge is worth 360 degrees of knowledge, right? If you study numbers, right? We have 3 plus 6 plus 0. That equals 9. 9 is total completeness. 9 also is a universal number as well. So this is why I say we can learn as much and put into our mind 360 degrees worth of information, worth of knowledge. So the choice is yours. That's the next thing. You have a choice. You have a choice. Back then, 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, we had no choice. And even still, we made a way. But for the majority of the time, we had no choice. So reading, I'll leave with you with this. Reading to the mind is what exercise is to the body. I'm going to say that again. Reading to the mind is what exercise is to the body. Okay, so we all know that if we put in enough work, if we put in enough time to exercise, we will see the results in our outer, externally part of our body. Same thing goes with reading. Reading is to the mind. So if we read a lot, if we read, constantly write down what we're reading, we will grow our brain. We will learn so much more. We will improve our reading skills, We will improve our writing skills, because as you read, so you should write. As you read, so you should write. So we're also improving our writing skills. We're improving our vocabulary. We're improving our language and how we talk and communicate. We're improving all of that, but that's inside. That's inside. That's also a part of our spirituality. And if you ask me, your mind is the most important part of your body. You ever hear military strategy? You should also study military and strategic tactics, right? Take the mind. They take the mind first. They take the mind because the mind is so powerful. Forget how strong you are. Forget that. But the mind is strong. The mind is powerful. That's why the military, they make sure they take the mind, right? And if you're in a physical war, they aim for the head. Once the head fall off, so goes the body. Once the head falls off, so goes the body. So they can take the mind. Once they take the mind, they automatically take the body. They automatically take the body. And this is what they was doing during slavery. They didn't have to kill us. They didn't have to kill us. They took our minds first. Are you following me? They took our minds first. Psychology. Psychology is important. They took them, they're still taking our minds first. They're still taking our minds because we still think that the European ice is colder. We still think that the European sugar is sweeter. We still think that the European business is more competent. It's more competent. It's more better. We still think that. We still think that. They have already taken our mind. But if your mind is strong, if your mentality is strong, if your mentality is forthright, if your mentality, if your mentality is good, if your mentality is strong, you will know that all the material thing is just an illusion. You will know that education is key. You will know that your IP, your intellectual property, is monumental. It's paramount. It's paramount to have your own intellectual property, to learn as much as you can learn, because nobody can take that away from you. To learn as much as you can learn, because the more information you have, the more information you have, the better off you'll be. The more information you have, the more money you make. The more information you have, the more knowledge you have. And the more knowledge you have, the more you know. And the more you know, the more you grow. And the more you grow, the more better off you'll be. So, I conclude, family. I conclude. I can go on and on. But again, if this live has helped you in any way, shape, or form, please make sure that you reciprocate the energy into buying a badge. Make sure that you reciprocate the energy into, if you don't have money, click the link in the bio. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's free. If you don't have money, that's free $99. Make sure that you reciprocate the energy and you like and subscribe to our podcast outlets. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, and so forth. Every Monday we have our podcast. Thank you, beloved. Subscribing now. Thank you. Every Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have various thought leaders. We have various businessmen and women who come on and share their knowledge with you. Knowledge is so key, but application is even better. So I leave you as I greeted you, family. I love you to life, mashallah. I love you to life. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom, shalom, hotep, Islam, Alafia. Peace, peace, peace.